All right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a special meeting of the Committee on Administration, Dunn County. We are here in room 54 of the County Administration Building in Menominee. We have with us all attendants in terms of call the roll, and I'm going to ask Chris maybe to just call the roll, being we got people online and people here. Or do you want me to?
Turn your mic on, please.
All right, so we have Chair Headland,
Here?
Luke Wilsley,
Here.
Jim Sons,
Here.
Tim Lino.
He said here, even though his mic was muted.
There, he's gonna say it again.
He muted
He's not.
himself again.
All right, and Bob Bauer.
Here.
All right.
All right. Thank you all for attending. Everyone is here. We also have a few guests. We have our Assistant Chair of the Dunn County Board of Supervisors is here with us. We have IT representative. We have our CFO, our county clerk, and we have our Director of Personnel, who is going to be kind of putting on the show, so to speak, here this afternoon for us. First, our item 3 on our agenda, consideration of reports, resolutions, and ordinances to the county board from the Committee on Administration. We need a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement for 2024 through 2026. We also have to decide today on passing on a pay grid. I get overdone with that. I'm sorry, that's next meeting. Okay. The pay grid set up for our elected officials. All right, so Jenna, if you would take over and present to us where we're at with our collective bargaining agreement.
Sure, absolutely. I just want to make sure that everyone has received a copy of the proposed agreement within agenda materials. Okay. So
I did not receive one. I know if anybody else missed it or, 'cause I was looking for something to read and I didn't get anything.
I don't have something.
Okay, yeah, and
Let me find it, and let me send it to you, and it will come in an email, or we could bring it up. Well, either, both. I'll send it to you, we'll come in an email, and we can share the screen and put it on the screen as well.
yeah, I can join the meeting and share my screen.
That would work. Jenna, while you're doing that, is this agreement will be obviously 2024 is what we will start it. Is it end beginning of 2026 or go through the year 2026?
So we are proposing a 3-year agreement, and that would be to start retroactively to January 1 of 2024 through December 31 of 2026. So this is a change from the previous agreement, which was a 2-year agreement, and both parties agreed to extending to a 3-year contract. Once we get everyone on the same page, I can also share my screen as well. I think part of the complication is that the proposed agreement was provided to the executive committee on the same day as, or would have been on the same day as
Yeah.
this committee.
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
So it is in the executive committee packet.
Okay.
Um, I will just bring up I do have a report prepared, that was, directed for this committee that kind of outlines the changes. So I'll just go through that
That's
with you
good,
today.
yeah.
Once I can figure out how to share my screen. Okay.
Saying it is in the executive committee packet, so.
It is.
Okay.
It is. So this would be page 45 of the executive committee packet. And there should be a packet somewhere for committee on administration, but I think we can troubleshoot that. But in front of you here, I have the report that I prepared for the Committee on Administration, outlining the changes that were agreed upon as part of a package proposal between the union and the county. So we started bargaining on October 4th with a exchange of initial proposals, met again on October 11th and November 7th to continue those discussions. And within this report is a full outline of um, the provisions within the current contract that we agreed upon to change. So a lot of it is just language changes. There's not a whole lot of substantial change. Of course, the biggest ticket items per se were the discussion of the wages. And both parties did agree to settling on a 5% increase for 2024 wages. So that's from the 2023 to 2024. And then for 2025, a 2% on January 1, and then another 3% on July 1 of that year. And then in 2026, a 2% increase, and then a 3% increase in July of 2026 as well. So over the 3-year period, it would be a total of a 15% increase. The rationale for that was looking comparatively at other counties as far as where we sit in the ranking of kind of where our wages sit. And both parties felt that this wage schedule would keep us in the same position as far as ranking. We sit around third, kind of in the region with compared to St. Croix County, Barron County, Chippewa County, and kind of that realm within
Yeah.
northwestern Wisconsin. So felt that it was both a competitive settlement as far as wages, as well as fair and consistent with kind of where we've landed in the rankings historically as well. Any questions about the wage schedules specifically?
Anybody, guys online or guys here have,
Do you, if I may, Mr. Chair,
go ahead, Mr. Bauer.
did this tie in with the cost of living, or how did you come up with 5% on all around? I mean, if the cost of living goes down these years, I mean, I'm just thinking ahead here, what that would be.
Sure. So cost of living is considered when both parties are proposing increases. Um, of course, with a 3-year contract, we would be, kind of locked into that essentially 5% per year. That may ebb and flow with inflation, of course, over that 3-year period. But we felt that within 3 years that there wouldn't be too much shifting, and that 5% would feel appropriate. It is also consistent with the general county population as far as close to the most average wage increase that non-union employees receive from year to year as well.
Anything else?
And I do have in front of you the actual wage rates. If you apply that 5% for 2024 and then the 2% January 1 of 25
Okay.
and then so on.
You want to, larger, your chart there. There you go. Perfect. Okay.
I would add in answer to Supervisor Bauer's question that in part, while there's some logic behind the ultimate proposal, it really is a process of the negotiation. So we started at, obviously the administration on the low end and the union request on the high end. And we negotiated over a number of meetings to come up with a shared agreement. So it's not, there is some logic to it, and it does tie to other comparables in other counties and other staff, but in large part, it is the product of collective bargaining negotiations.
So it is equal to other county officers.
It's consistent with the ranking that we've maintained with comparison to other counties in the region.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing to note with the wage scale here is that both parties agreed upon actually removing what used to be the starting rate. And this was based on the concern of being able to recruit new deputies. Our starting rate was, a little behind our maintained, 3 in the rankings. And so that was an agreed upon approach to, having a little bit of a higher starting rate for the new hires for the coming years. So the new starting rate is what used to be the 12-month rate. So and that was again with the intentions of improving recruitment efforts. Any questions on that change? Okay.
Okay.
The other bigger piece that was agreed upon was implementing 12-hour shift language into the contract. So historically, that was a side letter of agreement. I think that was implemented in 2018. So both parties agreed to implementing that into the contract and cleaning up kind of all that language to be consistent with 12-hour shifts. And that was with the intention of 12-hour shifts being, the long-term solution. It previously was 8.5 hours. And that has proved to be effective for their scheduling and department needs. Any questions on 12-hour shifts?
Anyone? Guess not. Thank you.
Okay. So Article 5 within the agreement addresses reserve officers specifically. There wasn't any major substantial changes to this other than to implement that 12-hour shift language with regard to any ride-alongs. So a fairly minor change there. Additionally, we implemented language into the contract regarding lateral entry. So lateral entry was recently a side letter that allowed any new hires that were coming with experience in the state of Wisconsin as a deputy to Dunn County and having them able to accrue vacation at a higher rate and things of that sort. So simply taking that side letter that was recently agreed upon and implementing it into the contract itself. And no substantial changes to that language. Just making it a little bit more permanent.
Okay. And is that has some flexibility to it, does it not?
It does. So let's see here. Here's the language specifically. So a lateral employee may be advanced up to 72 hours. So up to 72 hours of vacation. So there's flexibility between kind of how far up they want to go on that. As far as the rate of pay, we wouldn't set them at a rate of pay that would be any higher than the applicable experience that they have. And then lastly, the provision within this states that it's understood that any prior service plays no role in establishing the seniority within the Dunn County Union specifically. Any questions about lateral entry?
Anyone have questions on?
And I can scroll back up too if you need.
Is it okay if I ask a question?
I believe so.
Yes, I believe so.
All right.
I would be okay with that.
So I understand the lateral stuff and the reasoning behind it, but as far as if we got to a layoff situation, that would not, the hiring date would be what you'd use for the layoff. That's correct?
The date of hire with Dunn County would be
Yeah,
applicable. Yes.
Thank
Yep.
you.
No problem. And really, the remainder of the changes are not very substantial. But because I know a lot of you haven't seen this prior to now, I'll go through them briefly. So a change to Article 7 regarding personnel records. Previously, there
can
was
I-
a provision. Oops,
Can I break
yeah.
in a minute, Mr. Chair?
You go ahead, Ms. Power.
I see Mr. Tim, or Supervisor Leno has been trying to get in. He's been raising his hand, but he can't get his mic to go. I know he's got questions, so I don't think we can help him out to
Oh.
get talking or.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe he can try
So
typing.
Try, on the top of your screen, you should have a mic, little mic icon, and it
Can
should
you hear
have,
me now?
yes, there
There
you
it
go.
is.
Okay, great. Regarding the, I'm gonna kind of back up here to the 5% wage meeting. And it seemed like 5% the first year, 2%, then it goes to 3%. Am I understanding that correct?
That's correct. So on for 2025, there would be a 2% increase on January 1, and then an additional 3% on July 1. So
Additional 3.
correct. So for, I
Okay,
guess
so
it's
for
a
the
total
year,
for
a
the
total
years.
of 5.
Yes, yes. However, that first 6 months, it's only that 2% increase, and that was a negotiated factor as far as
Okay. I just
the
kind of
cost
thought
of
that,
the proposal.
I just thought it was a little strange here to kind of all of a sudden see 5, 2, 3, but I didn't
Mhm.
know they were connected. Now, in regards to the lateral, if they are coming from another state, that doesn't matter? That doesn't apply? Say if
So
they're
the
coming from Illinois?
That's correct. It recognizes Wisconsin law enforcement service specifically.
And that's it?
Currently, yes. Yep.
Okay. Those are the only 2 questions I had. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay. So we started covering the changes in Article 7 regarding personnel records. So previously, there was a provision in the contract that required administration to remove any disciplinary actions after 4 years. And so both parties discussed changing that. That was something that administration had pursued and agreed that in the interest of transparency with performance record, that it would be a good idea to remove that language and have disciplinary records carry through for the duration of employment at Dunn County. Any questions on that piece? Okay.
I have a quick question in regards to that. If they're coming from some other place, will that, if they were subject to disciplinary action in the previous employer, will that be a part of their record?
It would not be in their personnel file here with Dunn County. However, it would be on record as part of the background investigation that was completed prior to their hire here at the
Okay.
county.
So any back, previous discretion or indiscretion or whatever would still be available and known to HR here, right?
Yes, it would. There was a fairly recent act passed, it's Act 82 in the state of Wisconsin that provided more transparency and access for law enforcement agencies and frankly required law enforcement agencies to share the full background of officer disciplinary actions and performance records.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that's cleared up.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so the next section pertains to compensation, and there was a full deletion of section 5, so I'm going to scroll up just to kind of show you how that reads. Sorry, table of contents is not helping me. If you wouldn't mind, can we skip over that one and come back to it? I would rather
Yeah.
show you the redlined version. That would be easier, I think, to
Okay.
capture what the changes were with that. Similar to Article 14, Section 3. So kind of moving on to equipment and vests, the amounts were modified in agreement by both parties to change the rate from 200 to 250 in 2024 and to 300 in 2026 for safety equipment or uniform equipment, and then from 1,500 to 1,750 in 2024 and to 2,000 in 2026 for body armor. So those are two distinct needs. And this was justified based on the cost of these items increasing due to inflation. And currently, you know, the rate of 200 for, you know, uniform type of costs isn't sufficient, as well as the body armor cost has exceeded $1,500.
Is there still language in force there if somebody were to obtain, you know, $1,750 worth of new equipment or new body armor next year and then leave?
Yes, there is. We haven't made a change to
Okay.
that. If they leave within 1 year, they have to pay back a certain percentage.
Right.
Yep,
Okay.
that has not changed.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Just jotting down the redlined pieces I want to show you. Okay, and then the last somewhat substantial change is similar with how we approached the change to the wages, was to remove that first step of vacation accrual rate, just to provide a little bit more of a competitive rate for recruitment of new hires coming in. So they will start accruing at that second tier starting in 2024. The remainder, and I will spare you unless you would like me to go into these specifically, would be any cleanup of archaic and old language, nothing of substance that changes the intentions or the purpose of the agreement. And that's that piece. And then I just added a paragraph regarding the letters of agreement. Recall, we implemented the 12-hour shift language, And we also implemented the lateral entry language. So those 2 side letters are now in the contract. And we only have 1 remaining side letter regarding the court security assignment. And it was agreed upon by both parties to keep that as a side letter. So of course, the most maybe interesting piece, what's this gonna cost the county? So for the wages that were proposed for 2024, there would be about a $4,200 impact over and above what was already budgeted for 2024. So we were able to stay really close to kind of budget on that one. For 2025, the estimated cost, so if we take from 2024 into 2025, the cost of those increased wages would be about $99,000 for that full year. And then for 2026, the cost of that increase again about $103,000 for those wage increases.
All right. Any questions about that? Everybody understand where we're at? Those numbers are reflective then of the actual costs that the county's going to incur. Thank you to Jenna and our sheriff for being as accurate as they were, within $4,000 of guesstimating where we were going to end up this year. Is probably just a matter of 3-4%. And that's
I would say the
good.
approach that was taken with budgeting was to be consistent with what the remainder of the county employees receive. So that was the cost of living of 2% plus the steps at 2.75 for a total of 4.75. So we wanted to stay as close to 4.75 as possible, and we landed at 5. So we didn't do too shabby on that. And then if you would like, I can show you those redlined pieces of the contract that were removed altogether. If you're not concerned, I don't have to do that, but.
Okay. Anyone like to see those, or are we good? We're good.
Okay, thank you for bearing with me through that long list of changes.
Thank you for your presentation and the
Thank you.
explanations.
Thank you.
It's, it's important that we are informed before making a decision, and I think that is a great job of informing us, bringing us up to speed. At this point, we need, if someone would care to make a motion that we pass this on. Again, this will be decided at the board's level. It's
I'll make a motion that we pass it on to the executive committee.
okay. Second motion. by
I'll
Mr.
second.
Zahn, seconded by Mr. Wilsey. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you for the really good job.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
Our next item is meeting date. Will be our normal meeting date of the month, February 22nd here at 3:00. And so keep that on your radar. We still have another regular monthly meeting coming up. Any other questions? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.